Welcome to the Deep Leadership Podcast. Today I'm joined by Julie Winkle Giulioni. Julie is an Inc. magazine top 100 leadership speaker and a champion for workplace growth and development. She believes that everyone deserves the opportunity to reach their full potential. She supports organizations and leaders who want to make this happen with keynote speeches, consulting, and training. She has a new book coming out called Promotions Are So Yesterday. In this book, Julie offers 7 alternatives to promotions that will help employees thrive, and unlike promotions, they are completely within the control of the manager and the employee. So I'm excited to have her on the show and talk about this new way of thinking. So Julie, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, John. I've been looking forward to our conversation.
This is really exciting. So congratulations on this book. And first of all, tell us about your background. How did you develop your passion for employee growth and development?
Learning and growth I think they're just in my DNA. From my very first job, I was teaching modeling and charm to children. And my audiences just got bigger. I was a high school teacher, a university professor and department chair, and then went into industry in a variety of training and development roles. And throughout that time, I just really developed a deep appreciation for the fact that talent is the only sustainable competitive advantage that an organization has. And when we develop talent, we can develop incredible results. And so my last internal role, I was a director of product development for a commercial training company. And I went out on my own about 20 years ago. And so now we work with organizations worldwide who want to help leaders elevate their skill level and their ability to engage and retain leaders or employees. And I was looking at one of your taglines, building a world with better bosses.
Yes.
And I think we're really aligned that way. Imagine a world with better bosses.
Well, we desperately need it, and that's why I do this show. And hopefully, we are making a difference through like the work that you're doing with your book and this podcast, and hopefully, we're informing, teaching, and helping leaders grow and get better. So, yeah, absolutely, yeah, we do have a common mission. Then it sounds like. So, what was the genesis of this book? Because I think you're hitting on something really important. And so the name of the book again is Promotions Are So Yesterday. And those on YouTube, you can see I have a copy of it right here, an advanced copy actually. But what was the genesis of this book? I mean, obviously the workforce is changing. Why did you want to tell the world that there's other opportunities for growth other than just promotion?
My first book with Beverly Kay was Help Them Grow or Watch Them Go. And it was all about helping leaders, managers cultivate more effective career conversations. So for the last 10 years, I've been working with organizations, leaders on this, and I've really seen that folks can elevate the quality of the conversation by having the right mindset, by having the right tools in terms of questions and a framework for a really rich, robust conversation. And yet so many leaders and managers continue to say, yeah, but, this is all good. I'd love to have this conversation, except my people all want promotions and I don't have them to give. And so do I want to wade into that kind of a situation and just stir the pot of dissatisfaction? Maybe it's better just not to go there. And as I worked with these organizations, what became clear was, yeah, that's true for some people. There is something about the word career and career development, those two linked together. It's almost like a trigger. It sort of hijacks the brain and it drags people to this expectation of, more like what our parents probably experienced. They're being tapped on the shoulder and invited, up the ladder every 18 months. And so for many people, that is absolutely their default setting when it comes to a career conversation. It really should be about getting me that next promotion. But what I found is that in the absence of a broader definition, that's all people have to hang their hats on, if you will. It's sort of like going to a restaurant. If all that's on the menu is a hamburger, that's what you're going to order.
Right.
And so it's time that we expand the menu a little bit, give some language to other dimensions of development that are much more viable, much more possible in most organizations. And what I've found is when you expand the menu, people are going to order some of those other things. They're just as interesting, if not more so.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think things are changing too. I think the days of you go to work for one company and you make a 40-year career out of it and you advance and you get the gold watch and you retire, those days are gone. I mean, and so I think what you're bringing up is a really important point, is that, the workforce has changed. And so, I think you touched on it. I mean, in a way, promotions are overrated. Is that right?
Yeah, they really are in many ways. And you nailed it. The world has changed so dramatically. Careers have changed, and career development just hasn't quite caught up. I mean, you mentioned some external factors like we're not working,
Right.
from cradle to grave for the same organization. Average tenure, last I looked, was 4 years.
Wow.
Average person is going to have 12 different jobs over the course of their careers. So what does a career even mean when we're moving like that? So there are some external things that are affecting it. But I think the other thing is the internal landscape has changed as well. We want something different from the 40 or 60 or 80 hours that we're going to spend at work every week. And as I talk with people, it just becomes really clear we want our jobs to do a different job for us. And
Yeah.
so as a result, promotions are pretty passe as the end all, the be all, the standard default definition or measuring stick for what a successful career is.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think there's definitely things have changed. And I mean, I think people go into jobs now for experiences and for opportunities and for different things other than the title. It's what am I going to learn from this particular opportunity? And I really do see that has changed quite a bit. So and so you've wrote, and this is really good. So you've come up with these 7 alternative dimensions of development. So let's kind of, could you introduce us to those 7, what they are, and then we'll go in a couple of them, but just kind of introduce us to those 7.
Yeah, absolutely. So just backing up for a moment, over the last 10 years, I've been doing this field research, asking at every keynote, every training program, every meeting, what does career mean to you? And it's been fascinating to watch people respond to that because, we all kind of start at that top level. Well, it's, what I do so I can take care of my family and keep the lights on. But then people start really getting into some pretty deep material about wanting to make a difference, to leave a legacy, to find meaning, to connect really profoundly with others, to challenge them. I mean, the list goes on. So over those years, what I did was to blur my eyes and look at all of those data points. And they started to form these 8 categories, 7 categories that are alternatives, and then the standard category that is that climb up the corporate ladder, the promotion. Right. It's not going to go away. It's still, there, but does it have to be the centerpiece? No, because there are these other 7. So the other 7 are contribution. People want to make a difference. There's this human need to be of service, to contribute our skills and talents, to live on purpose. And so contribution is a huge opportunity for people to grow when we do it intentionally, but it's such a win-win. Like, what manager wouldn't welcome someone who wants to step up, and do more and do more? So contribution is huge. Second one is competence. Growing our skills and abilities. The workforce really understands that things are changing fast. The half-life of a technical skill is what, 5 years now?
Probably, yeah.
If we're not constantly learning and growing, if we're not committed to that, we can become irrelevant pretty quickly. And so lots of folks are really, really interested in staying on the cutting edge and really keeping their skills good and sharp. Connection is a huge opportunity and another development dimension. And especially over the last couple of years, as folks have been scattered all over, the opportunity to forge really meaningful relationships, build a sense of community, expand the network. The career development implications for that are really clear. There's also confidence, which isn't something we normally think about when we think about kind of a career development framework or even an objective for career development. But there are times during everyone's career when the best thing we can be doing is doubling down on really building that sense of assuredness, trust in your abilities, knowing that you can show up and predictably deliver. And so confidence is an opportunity for growth and engagement. Challenge, and that, is all about achievement, pushing the edge, testing our limits, seeing what we're capable of doing. There's a dimension around contentment, which again, doesn't sound like it belongs in this universe of development dimensions, but there are times in all of our careers where the best step forward is a step back. When you think about how long we're going to work, I mean, we're talking decades. It can't be a hard charge, climb up the corporate ladder every day of the week. There are times when we got to hit the pause button, step back, catch our breath, find balance, joy, ease. And that's what's going to keep us going, over the long haul. And then there's choice. And again, this one is one that over the last couple of years has started to become even more profound, is, we want to have a sense of autonomy and volition and control over our lives. And the flexibility that many folks have enjoyed over the past couple of years working remotely or hybrid has really given folks a taste for that. And there's tremendous learning, not just the engagement people get from that, but learning from taking on more responsibility or decision-making authority and having to live with the consequences of that. And then the last one, of course, is climb. They all just, coincidentally started with C, so I can remember them.
I love it.
Then there's the climb up the corporate ladder, and that's going to be appropriate at points in everybody's life.
Yeah, I love that. It's really interesting. As you were talking through these things, a lot of times I talk to young people. I talk to a lot of graduate students, and they always ask me, because they know I have an entrepreneurial background, but I also have a corporate background. They say, should I go become an entrepreneur first, or should I do something in corporate life? And I always tell them, go into corporate, into the area that you're very much interested in being an entrepreneur in, and have all these experiences where you can grow, you can learn, you can connect, you can have, and basically people pay you for it. And you gain experiences that will help you when you decide that you want to do an entrepreneurial route. So I do encourage people, young people especially, is to go take a job at a big company where especially in a field that you really want to know and understand, if you feel led towards, an entrepreneurial path, but use it not to climb the corporate ladder, but to gain some valuable connections and skills and competencies that you can take to your entrepreneurial life.
Yeah. And what I love about what you're saying, John, is it really points out this notion of between and beyond career or promotions, we've got this space, so frequently career development is about where you are, that role in the corporate world or that role in the entrepreneurial world. And that's not where the growth happens. It's not about the role. It's about what's happening between these places. It's sort of like traveling. When you go to a new city, when I go to a new city, I'm always excited to see all the landmarks. And those are the pictures that get in the album. But when I think back on the trip, it's what happens in between that really makes a difference, that's memorable. And the same thing is with our careers.
I love that. And you do talk about that. I was going to ask you about that. You talk about beyond, between, and besides promotions. And so is that the white space between these different jobs? Is that right?
Yeah. Okay. It's like the journey between the landmarks.
Okay.
Those are points in time that, are important, but I'm not growing because I got a promotion to the director of XYZ. I grow day in and day out. As I fall down, I pick myself up, I work with other people, I get feedback. All of those experiences is where the growth happens. And I think we confuse the landmarks with the journey.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if growth is our objective, we need to sort of shift our focus, de-emphasize maybe what we want to be when we grow up, what the title is, what they call us and all that, and really focus more on what we want to be doing that's going to support our development.
I really like that. Yeah. I mean, as a manager, I've led a lot of people over the years, and it's always been a struggle because you have this pyramid shape to the organization. There's only a certain amount of people who will be directors, only a certain amount will be vice presidents, senior vice presidents, executive vice presidents, and then presidents, CEOs. And so you have this pyramid, and a lot of people don't want to go up the pyramid. They want to become a technical expert, or they want to become really good at their job and become sort of a subject matter expert. They don't want to go up the chain. And I noticed, especially in corporate, that there wasn't a good career path for, being a technical expert or being a subject matter expert. And over the years, I saw that got a little bit better, but it was always a struggle when you had a good person. They work hard. They didn't want to be a leader. They didn't want to move up, but they wanted to grow and they want to expand, and they expected there'd be some level of career path for that technical person, and it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I think what you're saying is that instead of struggling to find a promotion for people, what other opportunities can we provide where they can gain experience, they can gain connections, they can really just gain satisfaction in what they're doing, and satisfy curiosity that they might have about a certain part of the business. And so I think that's what you're bringing up, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I just worry even about the word path, because that again connotes movement to someplace. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with this research. The research from the Institute for the Future of Work says that 85% of the jobs we'll be doing in 2030 haven't been invented yet.
I love it.
So where are we sending people on these paths? They may be paths to nowhere. So the idea of using the envelope of the job one currently has as the container for development, I think it's what we're talking about here. How can I invite the exact experiences that I want to achieve my growth goals into this current experience? And that's what this book is really about. It's a toolkit for managers to be able to sit down and have conversations that say, okay, you're really interested in your next challenge. Let's talk about that. Let's roll up our sleeves. What does it look like? How much stretch do we want? How much do you want to put yourself out there? Whose support do you need? How can I help? And put a plan together that will get people where they want to go without going anywhere.
I like that. I really do like that. So one of the dimensions is of development is called contribution. And you say that's the number one development priority that managers can tap into. Why is that? Why is contribution such a good one to tap into?
Well, it was number one in our global validation study. So I created this model, and then we put it out to 750 folks worldwide to make sure, I knew that these categories were right because it came from all of these conversations. But what I wasn't sure, when you start asking people, okay, rank these.
Right.
Really, when it comes right down to it, where do these other things fit against climb? And so we did exactly that. We just created a one-line description, asked people to rank these 8 dimensions, and the results were amazing. What we found is that in aggregate, climb was dead last. That was the least interesting of all of the dimensions, and contribution in aggregate was first. And so when I looked at that, I just thought, my gosh, what a hopeful message for managers everywhere who might have been doing the but, sort of conversation, to be able to look at that and say, people really want something very different than what I thought. And what manager wouldn't welcome that opportunity to facilitate greater contribution. I mean, it's the ultimate win-win, supporting the individual's growth and engagement, and then offering more value to the organization as well.
I love that because, one of the things that I'm critical of corporations is that you take young people coming out of maybe coming out of college, or maybe they have a beginning job, and then they get a chance to finally get their dream job. They get the job at Apple or Microsoft or one of their dream companies, right? And they're excited, they want to contribute. They want to be a major contributor to this organization. And then they find themselves in sort of an entry-level position, and and companies are typically risk averse, and we give our tough assignments to our more experienced people. And so the junior people get the grunt work, and they don't get those opportunities to really contribute like they think they want, that they're going to get. And so their voice isn't heard. They're sort of in a back corner doing, support work, and they get frustrated and they get disillusioned, and then they become, an employee that just, clocks in and goes home, and we lose that passion that they have when they come into the company. And it's always frustrating to me, is like we kill that passion. And you're saying, like, we've got to find ways, if contribution is one of those things, it's like, how can we find opportunities for employees to be able to contribute to our organization in a greater way? That's really what we're looking for.
Yeah, and keep that, rather than extinguishing that spark of interest, to keep it alive, to fuel it. Yeah, but I'm thinking even someone who's doing something routine, early on in our careers, we got to build our skills, and sometimes it requires cycles and repetition. It's not the most exciting, but it's what's required to kind of get it in your bones. But even in that kind of a situation, it's a game changer when a manager sits down with that employee and helps them connect the dots between what they're doing, their small piece of it, and the whole puzzle. How that contributes to the team, which contributes to the customer, which whatever it might be. Suddenly, even more menial or repetitive tasks take on a greater level of significance for folks, and you can tap that sense of contribution once you connect the dots for folks.
I love that. Yeah. Ken Blanchard calls it worthwhile work. When you're doing worthwhile work, you have a different mentality going into it, versus just feeling like you're a cog in the machine and you're not really, you'll feel like what you're doing doesn't matter. So if you can connect the dots to what you're doing and how it matters, I think people enjoy that better. They feel like they're contributing to, the overall performance of the company and whatever the company's mission is in the world, right? They feel like they're part of that mission.
Yeah. It's a matter of kind of painting them into the big picture. The big picture is over there. It's right here where they are. And the other thing that many organizations don't take advantage of is the opportunity for volunteerism. So many organizations have social missions, and they're associated with nonprofits, and there are so many ways that we could connect a junior employee who really wants to make a contribution to some of those avenues that would elevate their visibility, give them some variety, and let them feel, again, that sense of contribution.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I ran in one of my companies, I ran like the employee activities team, and they did all the different things that we did for the employees at that site. And I remember a lot of young, kind of entry level college graduates would join the team, and they were all excited in the ideas, and it was kind of fun to let them, have a voice and do and say, and I sit back and say, whatever you guys decide, let's do it, and so it was kind of neat to see them get a chance to have their voice heard, because I think in their day job they were maybe not people didn't pay attention to them, but I saw when they were in this employee activity team, they had a voice, and that was their identity, and they were helping the company with morale through these employee activities and things. So this is just an example where they can contribute more in the company without a promotion or without moving up.
Yeah. And that example, it's just so perfect, because you were facilitating leadership development in the context of that employee activity committee.
Mm.
They had the opportunity, because you're a skillful developer of others, to be able to grow as a result of that. And that's really the key is to all of this is the intention. We can do any number of development activities. We can keep ourselves busy from now till doomsday on activities, but having the intention for growth, figuring out what is my goal in doing this? What do I want to learn? How do I want to be different on the other side? That's what turns it from, drudgery into real development.
Yeah, I love that. This is great. This is really good. Now, one of my favorites on this list, and I love it going through the book, is challenge. And I wrote about this in my first book. I call it the gift of a challenge. And in my career, I've been gifted with challenges. In other words, given opportunities to do things that were kind of outside my comfort zone, outside my current skill set. And I grew tremendously because I was given those opportunities to be challenged. So why is challenge so important in career development? And what do we have to be careful with as we're bosses or we're managers and we give people a challenge? What are some of the back and forths that we got to worry about when we talk about challenges?
Yeah. So challenge is one of my favorites as well. I think you and I share that desire to kind of push the limits and see what can I do and feel that sense of achievement. And so it's a wonderful opportunity for people to learn new skills, make new connections, again, in the spirit of having an intention for it to be growth. The win-win is normally those challenges relate to real work that needs to get done anyway. And so the organization benefits as well because they're getting, projects addressed, voids resolved, or whatever it might be. So challenge is something that a lot of managers use probably most generously of all of the different tools and strategies I talk about in the book. The challenge with challenge is that we got to calibrate it. We got to figure out what is that stretch that's going to help somebody grow, that's going to push the limits. It's going to be right there in the discomfort zone where the learning happens, but that it's not so far a stretch that they're going to snap and break, because we've all been there. Where we are is such a far cry from where we would need to be to accomplish whatever that task is. And that just sets somebody up for failure. So it really requires some careful calibration and understanding on the part of both the manager and the employee. What's the current skill level? What's the current tolerance for risk and stress? And, how much emotional labor are you willing to put into this so that we can kind of turn the knobs and get to just that, Goldilocks level of stress and strain. That promotes learning rather than discouragement.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think even you say in the book that it's got to be a volunteer situation, not I'm assigning you this tough project because it needs to get done. And so you have to be careful not to be, it's not really an assignment, it's an opportunity. It's a they're volunteering to be part of this challenge, right? Is that what you were saying in the book?
Yeah. Having people step up to it and take it on rather than, I love the expression voluntold, being
Right.
voluntold, that this is your thing. At that point, it's work. When I'm looking for something to enhance my engagement and my development, and I'm embracing this new challenge, the energy I bring to that is entirely different than when it's dumped on my lap.
Right. Okay. So that's the thing to be careful with as you're talking about challenges. And I think too, for me as a leader over the years, is I've loved using challenges to you get two things. One is, the employee gains some valuable experience, but then you learn a little bit more about that employee through the process. They learn something about themselves, and then you can get a chance to observe them and see, wow, they're really good at this. Like I had no idea, right? Or, yeah, that's probably not their cup of tea. And they realize it too. So it really helps them steer their, what they want to do in the future too. So I think everybody learns when you have those challenging assignments, and and I think those are really important as managers to provide those so that you can both get a chance to learn from that experience. Okay, is that something that A, they were really good at, and B, they want to do more of, or see, it was a disaster. We won't do that again. And I've
Ever
had that
again.
too. Yeah, I've had that too. It just
Yeah.
didn't work out,
Yeah.
and
Well,
yeah,
and you're just hitting on such an important point, because I frequently say the development's only half done with the activity. The other
yeah.
half is really unpacking the learning.
Mm,
And that gets short shrift, frankly, in a lot of organizations. And so once the activity or the experience has been completed, or not even been completed, we should be doing it routinely throughout. But are we hitting the pause button to say, okay, what did we learn from that? What are, to your point, what are you good at? What are you not so good at? What are you now
yeah,
gravitating toward? You really want more of, and what do you want to stay away from? And where's your next challenge? But really, because employees are as busy as the managers are,
yeah,
they
yeah.
probably are not going to just sit down and say, let me reflect upon that for a few minutes.
Right, right.
With a little prompting. And so that conversation, oh my gosh, that is just gold in terms of the employees' insights and then the intel that you get as a manager.
Yeah, I agree. And what I found too is you might talk to an employee and they say, this is my hopes and dreams, this is my career path, this is what I want to do in my life. And then you give them an assignment that is sort of along that vector that they are interested and excited about, and they discover maybe that's not what I want to do. And thank you for giving that opportunity, but I don't really like that. I didn't like being in that situation. That's not what I've realized now. That's not what I want to do, and that's a valuable. If the person just knocks it out of the park, that's great and that's valuable. But if it doesn't fit, that's also valuable too. This helps refine what they want to do in their life, I think, and those are great opportunities. We can't just here. My problem in corporate, what I saw was pigeonholing. There was too many people that were just put in a role. It's like, you're really good at filing documents. You're going to file documents until you retire.
Yeah.
And I
You
saw
can't
that, and it
afford
was,
to not let you
yeah,
file the documents. Yeah.
yeah, and it was really sad that people got stuck. You're a quality guy. You can only be in the quality department. You're a manufacturing guy. You can only be in manufacturing, and I think we limited what people could potentially do in their lives because we labeled them a certain category of employee. And I don't think we're doing them we're not doing them a service by doing that, and I don't think we help the company when we do that.
I was just thinking the same thing. We're not
Yeah,
doing the company any favor, because the experience that they have in quality might well be exactly what's needed over on the production line to spark, some sort of a new innovation or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I just wanted to reflect on what you were saying about giving people challenges and discovering what resonates for them and what doesn't. This also kind of plays into how we can use the model. If you've got someone who is really dead set, they just want to climb that corporate ladder, they want that
Yeah,
next promotion, but it's not available, because that's kind of the problem here. How could you use some of the other dimensions to introduce, parts of that job,
yeah, yeah.
elements, side, second cousins to some of the tasks associated with that, so that they could get a little bit of a preview of some of that. And to your point, they may, I can't tell you how many times I talk to folks who just couldn't wait to become managers, and they get there and it's like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? I don't even like people. No, this
Right,
is
exactly.
great.
I don't like people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Better to find that out through
yeah.
some of these other experiences and help folks choose differently for themselves.
I really like that. That's great. I love it. So you say in the book, possibilities are the new promotion. What do you mean by that? I love that.
Well, it's kind of back to what we've been talking about. Promotions are limited, they're organizationally doled out, they're episodic, and managers have very little control over what's happening with those. Employees have even less control. Possibilities, on the other hand, they are endless. They're ubiquitous. They're all over. They're totally within the sphere of influence of managers and employees to contract and find and move forward for the purpose of development. And so I'm really sort of challenging us to, I don't know, to maybe sync up the reality of career development today with what's really viable within an organization, and create create the space for managers and employees to take action, even when the organization might not have all of the promotions or training or bells and whistles that are necessary. Those possibilities absolutely live in that employee manager relationship.
Oh, I like it. And I think too, it plays a role in, as I was looking at it from a small business perspective, one of the challenges is that we don't have the resources of big companies. You know, I run a small business, but we can give people experiences that they wouldn't get in a big company. That, you know, a production guy could get a chance to go visit customers, and a guy who's in marketing get a chance to go on the shop floor and make product. And so there are experiences that you can have in a small business, and there are opportunities you can have in a small business that are not related to promotion. Because I have no promotion.
Right.
There's no place to promote people in my company because we're relatively small, right? So, but there are experiences, there are challenges, there are connections, there are other ways that they can continue to grow as a person, even without promotions. And I think if you're a small business owner and you're listening to this podcast, there's a lot of great ideas on how you can help people develop even without promotions.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a matter of, as you have, trading those promotions for the possibilities that are there and really getting creative. And the truth is, I am firmly convinced that what's possible is nearly limited. It's only limited by the creativity that managers and employees are willing to invest in finding the opportunity.
I love this. This is really good. So the book comes out, is it March 8th? Is that right?
March 8th.
March 8th. And the book is here. I've got a copy in my hand. It's Promotions Are So Yesterday. How can people find out more about the book, and where can they find it online?
Oh, thank you, John, for asking. It's available for pre-order at all of your favorite booksellers, and we've got a lot more information about the book. We've got a sample chapter as well as an online self-assessment to figure out which of these dimensions are most interesting to you at my website, which is juliewinklegiulioni.com. And I'll bet you'll put that in the show notes since it's a mouthful.
We are going to put that in the show notes because I got people driving in their car trying to write that down. So no, we'll put that in the show notes.
Thank you.
No, that's fantastic. And this is really an important book, and I'm glad you wrote it. I think it's a perfect time for a book like this to come out. We're coming, hopefully, maybe out of a pandemic sometime soon. And so I think as we start looking at career development again and kind of get back on track with our careers, let's look for opportunities that are not just a promotion with our employees. So this is a great book. And Julie, I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing this book with our listeners.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. It's been a really fun conversation, John.
I enjoyed it as well. Thank you. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for listening to Deep Leadership. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and share so we can continue to build a world with better bosses. Until next time, this is John Rennie saying take care and lead well.